Hey everyone, welcome to the HireMyVA Team and Business Building Podcast brought to you by ugozi.com and Victory. In this podcast and at HireMyVA, we help you to reclaim your freedom through hiring and thriving with virtual assistants without breaking the bank. That means your bank.
Yeah.
And I'm Dave Braun, and I'm here with my partner, fantastic business mentor and coach, but most importantly, my good friend, Larry Broughton. And I would say the Larry Broughton.
Oh, hello, handsome Dave.
Hey, man, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing well, doing
It's
well.
good to see you. I miss you.
Yeah,
Been a couple of days since we saw each other last.
Yeah, it's been a couple of days. Had a good morning. Took my mom to breakfast, and everything was fun.
I love that you do that every week.
Yeah, it's good. Cheryl came and joined us with my grandson. Man, that was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Work, but
it's work. Yeah. Hey, you volunteered for this grandparenting stuff.
Yeah, we did. But oh my gosh, wouldn't trade it for anything, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well,
what are we talking about today?
Well, we've got a really good question.
Okay.
And I think this is going to help everybody. What are your top customer service tips?
Oh gosh, that's so funny. Well, I was a little taken aback. It was like top ones. Well, there's tons, right? Tons.
Yeah.
So let's see what we can come up with. You know how my brain works, Dave. All right, so we're gonna give these customer service tips, but what happens when we fall short?
Oh, that's another episode.
We should probably talk about what happens when someone does, when we do.
Okay, we can throw that onto this. Yeah.
I don't think it would take much time to do.
Yeah.
But the first thing I would say is this: if you're dealing with anyone, if you're making a transaction of any sort, whether it's an individual, consumer, or client, or a business, there should be some system in your organization to deal with them, to help them during the transaction process. Right. If it's an online business, you go to a website and there's a help window that pops up, right? It might be some kind of ticketing system via email or text. It might be a help portal or a number that they can call, some kind of chat box like Melissa, who's our office manager and my executive assistant. She loves using those chat boxes because she feels like it's a lot faster. In one of the businesses that we've had, it's a hotel company. And so what do? We make sure that when the guest arrives and, they go through the checkout or check-in process with our guest service host, we let them know, hey, I'm here if you need anything during your stay. We want to deal with it. If you got a challenge during your stay, let us help deal with it while you're here. Once they're in the guest room, some of our hotels, we call them within about 10 minutes. Hey, just checking in. Is everything working in your room and I won't bother you anymore tonight, right? So you can handle it in the moment. The worst thing you can do is have a problem and then the guest, the client, the customer goes out and blabs it to the world because you haven't asked for feedback. So I think number one is have a system to support and help your clients, whether it's a consumer or it's a business, right out of the gate.
Exactly.
If you know how you're going to do this, but like let's say that you're in launch mode right now, you're in startup mode. Start asking yourself, once I do start getting clients, customers, how am I going to help them through the process? Right. So I'd start there, number one.
Yeah, that's great. Got to start there. And and then the next thing is, well, if you have a system like that set into place, if you don't have people to look at it or you don't look at it, well, what good is it? You got to look at it.
So you better have a system that says I need to be checking this at least a couple times a day.
For sure.
Right? We've got at the hotels, we have a texting system at some of the hotels, right? So the guest is given a QR code that they can click, and if they have extra pillows in my room or the sink's not working or whatever, it get blasted out to the department head and the MOD that day, right? And so there's a tracking system to see who saw it, who's following up on it immediately.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say that I'm just thinking about as we go through the process here, I'm trying to think about your business where you have like your website development business, which I love how much that's blowing up and doing great things right now, blowing up in a good way. I should say, where you have a ticketing system, right? There ought to be, if you're not dealing with this face-to-face, like in the hotel industry where there's somebody right there, there ought to be some kind of autoresponder that says, hey, got your message. We're going to be following up on it immediately. You can expect feedback from us or a reply within X number of hours.
Right.
The worst thing you can do is leave a complainant hanging. I sent an email and then they don't even hear from you.
Exactly.
What happens? The temperature just keeps going up, right?
Yeah. Larry, what would you say really when it comes down to it? Customer service is, it's 99% communication.
Well,
And
it is,
often,
but it's
right?
also, I think the other part of it is anticipating their needs. We should have probably
Yeah.
addressed this right out of the gate. So
Yeah.
what's one of our customer service tips? Anticipate your client's needs.
Right.
Service them before they ask for it.
Right.
The example I used to use years ago when there used to be phone books in the hotel industry was oftentimes what we would get is a guest would walk up to the guest reception is what we call it, not front desk, because words have meaning, right?
Yeah.
They would walk up to guest reception and say, hey, do you have a phone book I can use?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what's most people's response to that? Reach down and hand them a phone book.
Right.
What's a better way to deal with that? Is there a number I can look up for you?
Yeah.
How about something as simple as that?
Yeah.
Right? Is there a problem I can help you with? Is there a way I can serve you? Right? Anticipate their needs, I think is a good way. That's probably one of the best rules of thumb right there. If we had to say, what's the one thing in order to the best customer service tip? Anticipate your clients' needs and exceed their expectations and serve them with a smile. That's probably, if you had to pull down to three things.
Yeah, those are really good. And the ticketing system that I have in our web business is basically you send an email to help@prowebsitecreators.com, and then it goes into our ticketing system, and then we get alerted through a common email, as well as it goes in our ticketing system, and different people get alerted. And then we're supposed to check it a couple of times a day. And then our next rule, I think that's really important, is that we look at it, and if it's something that you can respond to and resolve right away, then okay, take a few minutes or whatever and do it, and then let them know that you've resolved it. Don't close it, but you tell them that you've resolved it, because the person that opens the ticket, they're really the one that needs to close it, because they are the ones who must be satisfied, not you that you've completed it. They need to do that. But if you can resolve it, we resolve it quickly and then say, hey, it's resolved, or whatever. But sometimes the help requests are more complicated. And then so it's like we would respond and say, this might be taking us a little bit of research, a couple of days. We're going to look into it. So rest assured. So that way that they know that, okay, they are not going to get this resolved immediately.
Well, that's a really good point. I'm glad you said that. What I think is really important for us as business owners is to do is put yourself into the complainant's shoes,
Yes.
your client's shoes. Okay. So what do I mean by that? All right. So they make a complaint about whatever product, service, delivery, whatever it is. And you do your job, and you are hustling behind the scenes, and you're talking to your team members, and you're talking to vendors, and you're pulling the levers and the levers and doing all the things that you to do to fix it. But if the complainant doesn't hear from you, and they don't know that you're doing all this stuff behind the scenes, they think that their complaint is just falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And so you tell them, hey, here's what I'm doing. Right now, I hear what you're saying. I'm really listening, and you're empathizing with them, and you're really going through, all the great ways to deal with a complaint. And you let them know, hey, this is going to take a couple of minutes, and or a couple of days, or whatever it is. So because you may not hear from me for a couple of days doesn't mean I'm not working on this. And I'm going to get back to you and give you a status update by this date. And then by George, you need to follow up date and let them know. And again, it doesn't need to be resolved, but you just need to check in with them. And if you say that you're going to respond by email, call them.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you say you're going to respond, go the next step. I dealt with a complaint in one of my businesses the other day, and it got to me. and that they even got a call from me as the CEO. They're like, holy smokes, we've never had the CEO of a business call us before to deal with this,
Yeah.
And so I could then have a really good conversation with them. Okay, well, tell me more about this. So be courageous, make that call. That's what we keep saying. Be courageous.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's, just stay in touch with them, communicate. I think that's that's the rule for these last couple of podcasts. Communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also I would make sure, Dave, that more than one person on the team is looking at this. And again, I am not perfect. We make mistakes all the time, but there was a situation that we were dealing with just today where we were on our stand-up call, and I said, okay, Justin and Melissa, will you guys both deal with this, tag team this for me, because invariably somebody gets distracted, somebody gets sick, but say both of you are in charges. Make sure that you're both bird dogging this process.
Yeah, we have 3 of us that look at our help ticket systems, like pretty much every day. So, and what we're doing, Larry, is we're ingraining it into us that we check it a couple times a day. So in the case of somebody, like one of my team members is out on holiday for a couple of days, so that the other, like me and Brian, look at it, and then we're good. Or if I'm out on vacation, like I was for a couple of weeks, then they're the ones that look at it. So if we ingrain it into our system that we're all looking at it, then we'll have it covered pretty well.
Right. And depending on the size of your business or the type of your business, you may have to staff this department 24/7.
Yeah.
Around the clock. And it's just a call that you're going to have to make yourself, depending on how big you get, what you're actually doing. There are plenty of offshore customer service departments that you can hire. I'd be very cautious about doing that, though, right? Make sure that you vet them. Make sure that you do test calls, checking on them, right? And sadly, there are a lot of people, as soon as they hear an Indian accent or a Filipino accent or an African accent, they feel like they're being dismissed, right? We used to have that in our company when we had a bunch of hotels, and right away, because we could hear the recordings, of the calls. So just be very cautious. That doesn't mean don't use them, right? But just be cautious. In some businesses, that's totally appropriate, right? But there are a lot of call centers and customer service centers that are based here in Middle America, where people have zero, like Middle America, supposedly don't have accents, that are really good too. You'll just have, no matter where you hire a customer service department, do test calls, listen to the recordings.
Yep.
Okay.
Got it. Yep.
So make sure there's 20. So as I said, some of these are going to be 24/7.
Yeah. And, and I think also one of the things that's important is, and you've talked about it a lot, we talked about in a previous podcast or two about surveying your client. So what your client satisfaction is.
Sure.
Use your help ticket system to, to do that, to survey them. What we have in ours is after we close it, an email automatically goes out and says, hey, would you rate us how we did and give us feedback?
Sure.
And some do and some don't, but that's okay. And a lot of other ones you see in the emails at the bottom, they'll say, click here on the smiley face, click here on the sad face, or, or whatever. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's an important thing to do, because that's a great opportunity for you to really understand from your client's perspective how well you are doing or not.
Well, it feels like we may have done a podcast on this before. Did we not, Dave? Or maybe it was just for one of the masterminds, or maybe one of the consulting gigs that we did, where we talked about surveys and said, hey, if you had to whittle this down to one question, what's that one question you would ask on a survey? And what studies have shown is that one question is, would you refer us to a friend? If someone says that they're willing to refer you, that means that they trust you, that they've had a good experience with you, right? I mean, ask yourself, would you refer a crappy vendor to a friend of yours? Probably not, right? But as you're saying, Dave, about these surveys, I think that the next step of that, you can't just look at the survey results, Dave. What you ought to be doing is like trying to identify trends from those survey results, both good and bad, but especially the bad. The good ones, clearly you want to, whether it's certain team members that are being rock stars, certain departments that are being rock stars, you want to encourage them to keep doing it. and identify what are the best practices that they're doing so that you can take that across your entire organization. And if there's bad ones, you want to troubleshoot. Okay, we continue to have complaints or fall short in this area. What can we do to tweak that? Now, you can also reach out to some of these good surveys and get testimonials, which is this third-hand credibility, right? And post those all over the place on your website, on social media, if you get their approval to do so. So, I mean, that's a pretty healthy list of customer service stuff. But it reminds me, Dave, we were doing a I forget what it was, the Q&A call that we did earlier in the week, or the our in-depth virtual spotlight session, but we talked about a memo that I'd sent out to our organization several years ago about how to resolve some steps on how to resolve complaints. Maybe we can just run through that quickly.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you had 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever those steps were, and I remember writing them down. I'm like, I'm going to use these in some of the training in my organization.
Okay. Do you remember what they were then?
Well, I wrote them down, so I don't remember, but I have them written down.
Dave, it's not committed to memory already.
Yeah. Yeah, John. Yeah, my memory's going bad.
That was a joke for everybody who's listening. It's Larry.
It was? What's a joke? No.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, there was your memo, dude, that you shared with everybody.
Well, what I said in this, first of all, is if you got a guest complaint or a customer complaint or a client complaint, and this is not just for you as a business owner, but this is for anybody that's on your team, is the first thing you have to do is just listen. Most people don't listen. As soon as somebody starts to complain, we shut down. Right? You just got to listen, to what they have to share with you, and apologize. If nothing else, don't get defensive. Apologize that you're missing, that you're falling short of their expectations. That's the minimum you can do. I'm sorry that we're late on this delivery. I know you're expecting it early, right? Yeah. So I would apologize. Show empathy. Don't just brush them off. Don't be dismissive. That complaint I was talking about earlier, that's what it was about. They felt like the manager that they had complained to was dismissive. Isn't that the worst thing you want? You're sharing somebody, I'm really dissatisfied, and they just, whatever. It really wasn't that big of a deal, right? The next thing is to the best of your ability, remain calm. Don't match their tone, their heightened tone. Because that's our tendency, right? If somebody comes into you and they're up here, you want to go up there, right? But the best thing you can do is to bring it down. Now, they may see what you're doing, but just, keep your cool on this. When you can, and don't like overdo it, okay? Don't overdo it where it sounds programmed, but use their name. Dave, I understand, or Mr. Braun, I understand that this is, that we've fallen really short on this. All right. But use their name a couple times during it. Now, if you get the opportunity, try to build trust with them. Well, how do you build trust with somebody when they're up here with their heightened emotions? Well, you build trust by doing some of the stuff I listed earlier, listening to them, using their name, saying back to them what their complaint is, right? Trying to get a small agreement or victory during the process. If at least you can agree on something, right? That's building a level of trust. Yeah. Another way, follow through with what you said you're going to do. This is one that you need to remember. Oh, by the way, these aren't like in specific order, right? Some of these you're going to have to apply, throughout. Like this next one. Don't take it personally. They don't know you. They don't know where you live. They don't know your backstory. They don't know your children. They don't know your character, right?
Right.
Don't take it personally. You're representing the product or the service right now. And if they've got a complaint, clearly they've fallen short of you have fallen short of their expectations. And what we're talking about, Dave, right now are legitimate complaints. I see all the stories that there are people who are, and I can hear people complaining now. Oh, some people are complaining just for the sake of. Yeah. They want to get a discount or whatever. Great. sorry about their life.
Yeah.
You know, you got to remember the word of mouth is very powerful right now. It only takes one click for them to go to a review site, whether it's true or not, and to start damaging your reputation.
Right.
Is it worth that meal? Is it worth that $100
exactly.
receipt to have negativity out there in the world?
And you never know if that one person, if you can turn them around and really satisfy them, they could be a great advocate. And if you don't do that, you could be losing a bunch of business.
Well, you've heard me talk about it over and over again, where we've got some people in our organization who they thrive on this. They love to get disgruntled guests because they know they're so good at turning them around. We used to say, and now it's kind of a charge saying, we turned customer terrorists into customer cheerleaders.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, well, terrorist was a pretty charged word there for a while, or customer service terrorists into customer service cheerleaders, I think it was, right? The next thing though, and I think this is where it takes some practice and some real discipline, is to do whatever you can to stay positive in this, and to use positive languaging, right? Well, Larry, what the hell do you mean by using positive languaging? What's that?
Yeah, it's like, well, how to use positive language when the
terms
problem
like Dave, yes, absolutely, Mr. Braun. Yeah. Of course, Mr. Braun, definitely. Yeah. That's positive languaging. Okay, you're hearing them. Avoid stuff like, well, let me be clear, Mr. Braun, or for your information, well, actually, it didn't really, or, that kind of thing. Well, that's not exactly right. Because remember, when people's temperature goes up, they may not be exactly 100% right. This is not the time to be splitting hairs or getting into semantics.
Yeah, it's like, well,
or that's not how you say it, or correcting their grammar. It's not the time.
So, Mr. Client, did you go through and watch the help videos that we did for you?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's not the time to do this.
Larry, I've been so guilty of so many of these.
Well, and again, these are the ideal, right? And I don't get it right 100% of the time either.
Yeah,
right?
and I think that's an important point.
This, what's that?
That's an important point, is don't beat yourself up because, some of these things have happened to you or your team. It's like, just learn and get better and better. It's like anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're getting towards the finish line, folks, here. This next thing is just resolve the issue. Just resolve the issue. Okay. You don't have to be right. This is, but resolve the issue for the client. Okay. And make them feel good on the other end of this. And finally, and this may be the most important element, Dave, is to share what you learned from this process with your entire team. Yeah. Yeah. Start looking the trends that we were talking about earlier. Start spotting the trends here, right? I'd mentioned earlier that I was on a call. I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast or on a call that you and I had, that I was on a call earlier today with a hotel council, and there was a small hotel chain here in California. Did I talk about this live, or were we talking offline?
I think you did talk about it live. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this hotel chain, I think they said 70% of their customers or clients or guests, whatever it is they call them, complain because they get to the room and then they call the front desk asking for the Wi-Fi password. And they want to figure out what should we do to fix this? We keep getting these guest complaints, these stupid guests. Do we need to take do we need to start getting, higher quality guests in our hotels? And it's like, wait a second, 70% of your guests complain about the same thing. Maybe it's a systems and communication problem and not a guest problem.
Yeah.
You got to be honest with yourself about this, but share what you're learning with your entire team about this, and then try to fix the problem.
Yeah. Oh, those are awesome. I was talking to our team about it in the Philippines, because a couple of them have done like we talked earlier about the customer service and, manning the phones and that kind of a thing. And they get some pretty good training, and they came up with they had an acronym that they used when talking with somebody. It was AER, and I'm going to change that a little bit, I think. So AER was acknowledge the person and their problem.
Yep,
And
I
all
love
of
it.
this is in those tips that you had. Acknowledge the person and their problem, empathize with them, and then reassure them it will be taken care of.
Yes,
I think
good.
that's good for the first line. And when I
Mhm.
said all of the stuff that you talked about is in there, it's not really true. So I lied. Sorry about that. I was more incorrect. I was incorrect. But when we were talking about this AER, I was like, I've been on so many help, conversations with folks. Well, they reassure me, but it's like, well, that's nice. I feel better, but that's not actually resolving it.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
I liked, we're dog lovers. I liked ARF for us. What we'll do, ARF.
All right, ARF.
ARF. So acknowledge with empathy, reassure them it will get resolved in a timely manner. And then F is follow up until resolved.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
so if I like all the tips that you had, Larry, but if you guys can't remember those,
If you
just
just do those three
do ARF.
things,
Think ARF.
you're much further ahead than most people, for sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
All right. That was a lot of stuff in one podcast.
Yeah. And you know what, folks, one of the things we encourage you guys to do is you got to be training your team
Yes.
on customer or client service. Use this video, take it, grab it, and use this as part of your training.
And shameless plug, Dave and I
Ah,
do this. If you'd
yeah.
like us to come into your organization and do an analysis, do a consulting, do a training, let us know. We'd be glad to do it. Obviously, this is what we do for a living, so there would be a charge for it. But if you say to us, hey, I saw your podcast on this, we would consider you part of our tribe, and you would get our tribe rates versus someone who just hires us off the street. But this is what we do. Okay.
Right.
Deal with help people with customer service issues, with process issues, with team building issues, with leadership challenges that they're facing, with strategic planning. We're here to help and serve you because we believe that entrepreneurs and small businesses are the backbone of this country, and it is not the government who's going to save your bacon. All right. It's the entrepreneurs.
Tax your bacon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we'd love to work with you. So let us know. And also, if you've got ideas for anybody who's listening or watching on customer service tips, dealing with disgruntled guests, clients, customers, whatever it is that you call them, we'd love to hear about that as well. Like, I love these little things like ARF. I love stuff like that. So I'd love to hear what ideas you folks have. Let us know in the comment section.
Oh yeah, and by the way, when it's we're dog lovers, ARF is good, but just make sure you don't bark at your customers, right?
Or barf.
Yeah, either way. All right. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us today and laughing with us.
I know what we could do about barf. Be humble.
Ooh.
And then what's the next one? Acknowledge with empathy.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay. So we're going to change that,
To
right?
barf.
Barf.
I can see the infograph now, Dave.
So what was it? It was say be what?
I said be humble, but we can come up with something else.
No, that's good. Be humble. All right.
Or be compassionate or something. Yeah. All right.
Sorry,
this is how sausage gets made here at in our organization.
No, yeah, well, it's not necessarily sausage, but hey, we're looking to improve, make things better over and over and over, right? That's what this is about.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you, folks, for being with us today and laughing with us and helping us. And if you guys have a better acronym for this instead of ARF or BARF, let us know. Use your team, and that's what we've been using is our team to come up with this stuff. So if you have a team, have them come in and make a comment to us. But building a team is the way to reclaim your freedom. And we're to help you with our course community and our white glove service that we have where we find a rock star VA for you. So 3 things we'd love for you to do right now, and we'd really appreciate it. Number 1, subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't already done so, either on your iPhone or your Android phone, and then on YouTube, and hit the subscribe button, and there's a little bell next to it so that you can get some reminders. And then number 3 is number 2, give us a rating, preferably 5-star. We love 5-star ratings. And then number 3 is go to HireMyVA.com for more information on our course community and our white glove service.
That's right.
So remember, folks, even without experience, if you're just starting out or if you have experience, you'll learn how to better prepare for, hire, and thrive with virtual assistants. Our white glove service, it keeps expanding.
Yeah.
We just signed another couple of clients up. They're ecstatic, and it's a blast to help people get freedom, Larry. So if you want to get freedom, go to HireMyVA.com for some more information.
Yep. Hey, folks, do yourself a favor. Do the world a favor. Go do something significant today. God bless you. God keep you. And my favorite one, God hold you. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Catch you on the flip side.